Man, a lot of news circulating about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. Wow. Just
Nine.
like I'll say this about
Okay, go
Deshaun
for it,
Watson.
please. Yes.
Um, so for obviously this is something that like it's been unfolding for the better part of like a month at this point. If you're not in the know, Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson has had a number of allegations pressed against him, essentially
19,
accusing
19 official, and there was a new
we
one today, I
we
believe.
say
Yeah,
so here's the thing. So we say 19 at this point.
yeah.
And this is how interesting or this is how ever changing this situation is. Like it feels as if almost every few days there are more allegations pressed. So I mean, we have 19 on our notes here. It is entirely possible. I'll just add this disclaimer here. It is entirely possible by the time that you listen to this podcast, there may be a 20th, there may be a 21st, there may be
Yep.
more. I don't know, but that's just how layered this situation is. And I'll just say this. Um Obviously, I mean, not to be obvious about it, this looks terrible. This is a terrible situation. And I if it comes out that this is true, I hope Deshaun Watson is disciplined for this. This is absolutely abhorrent and disgusting. A player that you know we had him on as a hero on this show,
Hmm.
praising him for some of the good stuff he had done off the field. So for him to do this stuff, if it is true, is very disappointing as a fan of the NFL, but also just sad uh, for the victims involved. If this turns out to be the truth, and I think above all that, because we can have a whole conversation about. I mean, there's not much of a conversation to say in terms of his prospects as a free agent. Like it completely changes
Yeah,
his outlook here. Like who knows what's going to happen? Like the next thing for him isn't so much for him to find a new place to play. It's what's the league going to do with him,
yeah.
right? And like that's a whole thing in itself. We don't even know what's going to happen with that. But I am happy that, or not happy, but I'm still glad that we were able to touch up on this topic in some way, even if we know it's not something that like you could do a whole episode over. It is still something worth acknowledging and still pointing out like this is not a good situation for
No,
anyone involved. And I
no.
don't want to just and I really I'm not glad, but I want to just kind of start off and just say that like it's not a good situation for the victims involved and this is something that should be taken seriously. And I didn't just want to make the situation just about the football matters too, because obviously that's where we would be in the business for. But I think it's important to mention that off top. But I'll say this about it from a football perspective, you know, considering the league's history with suspending players for off-field matters, wouldn't surprise me to see Deshaun Watson end up in a situation where he does not play like half a season or just at least loses significant time going forward. And at that, I mean, I don't see the Texans letting him go. I don't see any team picking him up right after the fact. It's a bit of a
Yeah,
messed up situation with how players in those situations are dealt with.
I saw something on Twitter that said, "Man, if this whole story is really two. It can go two ways. It's either we had no clue about the real Deshaun Watson, and that's really concerning and shocking, or this is just the most ridiculous character assassination plot we've ever seen. Like on out of the blue." And I was reading an article from ESPN with all of the allegations that came out, and all in quick succession, very close dates to one another, like 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, all spanning from last spring to into the summer and into this fall and during the season as well. Um, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like obviously I know the law or the like you said, the multi-layered aspect behind all this. But from what I read about the plaintiffs' transcripts, is that a lot of these allegations and the transcripts themselves describe very similar patterns in multiple ways. So obviously the
Wow.
plaintiff's line of work, how both the plaintiff and Deshaun Watson came into contact. It was a lot of times he reached out to them, and then obviously the end result of what ended up happening. If you do a bit of research or read that article from ESPN, there's, like I said, a lot of similar patterns, which is anyways just something I picked up on, but very concerning stuff. Very concerning.
But also, Deshaun's also said, like, or at least, I think I know he's got his defense attorney up there. And I think previously when he was asked about, like, if there's anything on his phone, he says he's obviously denied them, and he's said that, like, he's willing to cooperate and at least, hey, if they want to look through my phone and see stuff, he said that too. This is a very this is not an easy story to cover by any stretch of the imagination. And I hope if you're listening to this podcast and you've heard Frank and I kind of go through it, you've come away with it at least knowing a little more about what's going on, or have some sense of what's going on if you didn't know already. I mean, considering how much we both pay attention to the NFL, it's a story we're going to be following for a good chunk of the offseason. I want to know what is next, because I don't know if the allegations that we have, the number we brought up now, again, it's entirely possible by the time you're listening to this podcast, the number has changed. And I don't know where the bottom is. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know when trials or anything like that are going to happen. I don't know what's next. It's just something that we're going to follow. And it's something that I hope people take seriously and don't just kind of trivialize it as this just matter that's like, oh no, Deshaun Watson, what's going to happen with his football career? It's a lot more than that.
Yeah.